Hey, Ben.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Here we've got some breaking news.
We do, and I keep reading it to see what the catch is, but if it is, it's not in here.
Well, let me do a bit better. A little bit. I'm Doobie Mosley, Laughing Place, co-founder of the CEO of Laughing Place Ben. We have just been alerted to some pretty big breaking news on both coasts. So, all right, let's get started.
Yeah. So Josh tomorrow sent an email to Cast, which we were able to obtain, and it says that basically, it gives a preamble about stuff, coming. We're excited, and it's important. He says it's important we continuously evolve to help deliver the best guest experience possible. Many of you know that I'm in the parks fairly often, and I listen to you and to our guests about the things that are working, as well as the things that might need some change. That's a nice change from things that aren't working. As we enter this new year, I want you to be first about a few enhancements that we're going to be making, specifically ones that our guests have asked for and you've shared with me. And while this doesn't address everyone's feedback, these changes will increase flexibility and add value to our guest experience. So I'm going to go site by site. So it's important to keep that, the rules are different for Disneyland and Walt Disney World. At Disneyland, they're going to be increasing the number of days, nearly 2 months worth, which is code, I think, for about 60, that they'll offer the lowest price ticket of the 1 day, 1 park of $104. In addition, guests are going to be able to start, if you have a park hopper ticket, you'll be able to start park hopping at 11 a.m. starting February 4th. I believe it's currently 1 or 2. You're getting complimentary PhotoPass downloads of attraction photos for all guests. And also, they'll be making Magic Key passes available for sale as the inventory becomes available. So it's not just going to be this start, like it's been, where it's just sort of random. So that's Disneyland, basically lowering costs for some days, about 60 days, park hopping earlier, complimentary ride photos, and more Magic Pass sales. At Walt Disney World, they are going. Guests with annual pass holders will be able to visit theme parks after 2 p.m. without a reservation, except Saturday and Sundays at Magic Kingdom. Blackout dates will continue to apply. Complimentary self-parking is coming back for Disney resorts effective tonight.
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
And guests purchasing and coming in the next few months, guests purchasing Disney Genie Plus will receive digital downloads of attraction photos at no additional charge. So if you're, just to be clear, at Disneyland, it's included with the ticket. At Disney World, it's included with Genie Plus. And so, I think it's obviously we need to get into speculation here, but it seems like these things wouldn't have happened if the great change didn't happen in November, and is really, honestly, it's the first time in maybe since Magical Express started that you can go like, wow, they're giving you more for your dollar.
So, I know this. We literally got this and went on the air, so we're deciphering it. I want to make sure we get it accurate. So, Disneyland Resort, the biggest thing is park hopping starts at 11 a.m.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your perspective. I would also say that another thing is they're offering that one lower price. Lower price is coming. And Doobie, can you talk for 1 second?
Yeah. And then at Walt Disney World, I think the biggest thing is they still have reservations, but you will be able to visit the theme parks after 2 p.m. without a reservation, except Saturdays and Sundays at Magic Kingdom. So, which, you're reading, I see, except Saturday and Sunday. I'm thinking, well, there goes the weekend. But no, only at Magic Kingdom. So you can go to Epcot at 3 p.m. any day you want to, no reservation. Not quite as good as no reservations at all, but 2 p.m. is pretty early. So that's not bad. That's pretty exciting. And then self-parking is free again. I mean,
and that's, to me, that was always the biggest nickel and dime thing, right? Like, Just charge me $20 more to stay at the room, and yeah, it's it. You know what it kind of reminds me of is, remember when they started letting you have soda for free on the cruise line?
Exactly.
And it's like,
I mean, that seems like we've been waiting for the gesture, something that'll cost them a little bit, but clearly shows, yeah, we realize we've been nickel and diming you, and we're going to try to shift our focus. And it could have been a bigger gesture, but this is a good gesture. Self-parking, go ahead, park without paying again. I love that. I love that. And the after 2 without reservations, that's when I go. So that's great. I mean, it'd be nice to be able to go on a Saturday morning and all day, but I think that goes a long way to making annual pass holders happy. And that is an annual pass holder thing. That's not a general thing, right?
Right. Well, I think also too, annual pass holders, 2 p.m. is probably not that far from the normal arrival time.
Right. Yeah. We don't need to be there all day necessarily. And if we do, it's usually because we've got family in town or something. So it's okay to make a reservation. Right. So
I mean, you can always want. I mean, I think anyone's gonna be like, well, why do we? You could always ask for more, but I think this is a big step.
Huge step.
And I just would love to know the conversation Josh had with Bob about all this, right? Like,
yeah, and yes, go ahead.
It's Josh sent out the email, but obviously Bob had to sign off on it. We often wondered, and I don't know if this is going to give us the answer. We often wondered, how much of the park stuff that we didn't like is Josh, and how much of that's Bob Chapek, right? And everyone blamed Chapek for all these things, but Josh ran the park. So did he agree with them? Did he just kind of do it because his boss said so? And even if this was Josh's idea, this makes it look like it wasn't Josh's idea.
Right. I mean, you can actually admit you were wrong without having to admit you're wrong if that was the case. So.
Right. And and considering too that Bob Iger's biggest criticism of Bob Chapek was that he just wasn't a good person, then this kind of puts a little idea that maybe Josh is really going to become a trusted Iger confidant.
Oh, well, what happens after you become a trusted Iger confidant?
You get fired after a year of being CEO.
It is possible that tomorrow is the next CEO of the company, right?
It's possible. I mean, the biggest thing that Josh has against him is Bob Chapek, right? Like, they brought the Parks guy in, he pissed everyone off at studios, and then so they go like, oh, the street's going to say these Parks people don't know how to deal with talent, which is not an accurate. That wasn't Bob Chapek's problem. That was just the problem wasn't the part that he came from the Parks. The problem was he was just not friendly, and I think it's a I see people like, oh, well, work from home is going back. I mean, I'm sorry, work from home should go away for many people at Disney because there's a kismet that you work with Disney team, but this is beyond any of those changes.
So just looking at some of our comments, Iger's master of PR, this has his name written all over it. A lot of goodwill towards fans with these decisions. Absolutely, we agree. Love the Mickey shirt. You're right about that. Thank you very much. One of our travel partners here. These are awesome adjustments Disney World is making today. So happy for all the Disney World fans. Happy for myself. Do you think the annual passes are returning or staying on reservations?
Well, I presume you're talking about Disneyland.
Yeah, I would guess so too.
I do not. I mean, well, tell me the difference between Magic Key and annual pass, and I'll be able to answer your question. But I don't think reservations are going away as a whole. And there seems to be a benefit in terms of there's a business benefit of that. How many people are going to show up, but also the parks are crowded as it is, and if you need to kind of cap it, it's a better way to cap it ahead of time than capping it when you show up at the gate. So it became reservations. I think it's not. Reservations isn't the problem. It's how you handle the reservations that can be a problem.
So one of the things they said was making Magic Key passes available for sale more times during the year as inventory becomes available. I mean, is that saying anything? I thought that's what they were doing already.
Well, but they were doing this thing where it was like, holding. I think they were doing these like mass sales, and so I think now they'll sell them as they can. I think they're going to sell them more frequently and be less. It's not going to be once a year kind of thing.
Actually, if they do that, I would hope they come up with like a get your name on the list kind of thing instead of, okay, they're for sale, and then things go crazy for that day, and oh, I'm so sad and all that. Kind of like Club 33. Get on the list and then wait for your phone call and then be ready to pay it. I'm just looking at Diz Twitter, and obviously it's interesting that the Magic Key thing is getting some attention, even though they're still not for sale right now.
To me, the parking one is a big deal, not because it was always so weird. Because like, if you were just coming in to go like eat or see a friend, you didn't pay for parking. It was only if you're there overnight, and so it was so much work and hassle to charge you whatever a couple bucks, and you're just like, and you get complimentary parking at the park as a resort guest. Yeah. It just didn't make any sense. It just totally
it's what every hotel does. Every hotel charges you for parking. It's like, hey, we can make a quick whatever thousands of dollars here, and they did it. And the epitome of penny wise, pound foolish. There we go.
Yeah.
The epitome of penny wise, clown, pound foolish. So
for our British audience.
Yeah, and but for me, as an annual pass holder at Walt Disney World, the exciting thing is reservation, because we make our reservations. We don't live there, so we travel and make our reservations. But we go to uni a lot, even though you're not penalized for not showing up to reservations. We feel bad when we don't. So a lot of times we just don't make the reservation, and then occasionally our plans change, and we wish we could have gone. Now we can. That is so exciting.
Yeah, and I think it gives you that weekday flexibility. Weekends, I think, too, is you're less inclined to make an impromptu trip.
Right.
It was like after work or whatever, you might be like, ooh, I'd really like to, Magic Key this night. There's a new popcorn bucket or whatever, whatever reason.
Right. And they didn't do it for Disneyland, which would be a bigger deal because that
true.
Go after work place.
Yeah, and I think it's a bigger deal and probably not in a good, you can see why they would restrict it still,
right?
Just because it's, that was a problem even before any of these changes. It was this sort of, why is the peak attendance coming at 4 p.m.?
Cool. And if you missed it, earlier today came this is going to go down in history as Disney Parks Day. Because earlier today, they announced that the opening date for Tron, April 4th, Tron Life Cycle Run at Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom, sponsored by Enterprise. They announced that Epcot Forever is coming back, and more importantly, the barges for Harmonious are going away, which I think was a little bit unexpected. As Benji told us this morning when we were talking, when he interviewed them, when Harmonious debuted, the idea was for those barges to stick around and become kind of a permanent fixture in that lagoon, and that permanent fixture lasted as long as Bob Chapek's permanent CEO chair. So bye-bye to those. And we got that Happily Ever After is returning to the Magic Kingdom. Disneyland Paris, oh my goodness, is getting a new drone show that looks spectacular. And the return of Disney Dreams, their castle fireworks show and projection show. Adventures by Disney announced some new rivers cruises today, Christmas river cruises, which sounds spectacular. This Iger guy may have a future in this business.
Well, as you say, it feels like, so, Iger became CEO like a week before Thanksgiving, right? And we kind of knew, okay, no, you're not going to see any major changes outside of, maybe personnel, like over Christmas. It's just, there's not enough time to make those kinds of changes and talk it all the way through. Half the people are not working. But I feel like today's the start of the true Iger era. Like today is the day where we're getting, a look to the future, excitement. Even the marketing is better for this stuff than it was for a lot of the other things lately. And not to mention, even on the studio side, we're getting the Titanic re-release, which is just, I think showing that they still have an interest in the theater business that was sort of de-emphasized by Bob Chapek because Wall Street told him to, and even though it made no sense.
And to me, at least, because that's obviously Disney is re-releasing the Titanic.
Right? Well, Disney, in association with Paramount, they share distribution.
Yeah, I know. There's just something. Avatar has clearly become a part of Disney, and I feel like with this now, Titanic is even more becoming a part of Disney. And you know, it's got the biggest movies of all time. That's kind of cool.
So if they have Titanic rights, and normally when a movie gets released into theaters, they show it on board the Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like people don't know about it. Rick Ostry says, I think people staying in Disney World Resort should not need a park reservation. They're paying premium prices. Let them enjoy the park. If they decided that deluxe resort people did not need a reservation, how many people are we talking at Disney World?
Well, I also don't know how many resort guests. So there's obviously times of the year where it's an issue, right? You know, New Year's Eve, but most resort guests are not looking, you know, are planning these things, you know, and
well, so I think you're right. Most of them end up getting a reservation, but there's just something about having to get one and that hassle when you're paying $500 a night that to just take that off your plate would be a nice gesture.
I don't disagree, but I think, you know, their resort population is so big that there's something where, I mean, even if it was something proactive where they just asked you, like there wasn't even a cap, but they just said, hey, what's your plan for today? So that we can plan, because that's you know, that was a big problem when I was at the park, right? Like you'd be there thinking it's 28,000 people and suddenly it's 40,000, and you're just not delivering great guest service at that point. Or you know, vice versa. You're expecting 40,000 and 10,000 people show up, and then you're just wasting a lot of resources that could be used better. And so
it's not that they want to keep the resort people out. It's that they need to know if they're coming.
Right. So almost like if they can make a reservation, but still sort of not have a cap on it, you know?
Yeah, guarantee them a reservation, but you still need to make it.
Right.
Right. Which
and then and I mean, obviously, I mean, I think you should give them some flexibility if plans change or something. But I mean, there's so many hotel rooms. If you just let them kind of show up, that's most of your guests. I mean, that's a significant number of your guests in the park anyway. Then what's the point of any of this? But you know, and who knows? You know, as we see the demand curve maybe normalize, which we haven't yet, you know, maybe it won't be as big of an issue. But I mean, we coming out, you know, I saw how busy the parks were over the holidays with reservations. I don't know that they want any busier than that, because there wasn't, you know, they would block out resort guests even from coming into the park if it reached a certain level. I think that's far worse than making them have to make a reservation.
That was who got blocked first, resort guests or annual pass holders? Back in the day, the days of phased closures. Do you remember? If you're clearly trying to get more information.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Who got blocked out first back in the day, resort guests or annual pass holders?
Resort guests. I'm sorry?
I just said how times have changed.
Well, anyway, in practice, they would kind of skip that level. It would either be level 1, where it was a sort of day guess, and then they would skip to nobody, or, you know, just re-entry only. But yeah, it's a.
What else is in that letter? You know, since we got the email and it's sent to the cast, what is Josh pumping up the cast about?
Well, Josh has always been cast focused, right? You know, making sure they have these experiences that, quite frankly, I thought were dead just because the cast base got so big. So I don't know that it's as much that he wants to let the cast know. And you know, it's on the Parks blog now too.
Okay.
But as much as just making them feel like they're getting the news first, as opposed to getting it secondhand from folks like us.
I'm just curious, you know, usually when they send out something like this, they mention projects that have recently completed, projects that they're working on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's what we expect. Tron Light Cycle Runs, Zootopia, Runaway Railway, Wondrous Journeys, Frozen at Hong Kong, and The Return of Happily Ever After, and Magic Happens.
I'm surprised that it's mentioned Disney 100, but not as much as I would have, not in a way I would have thought. It's really only mentioned as we'll be introducing new product to celebrate Disney's 100th anniversary.
Hey, DB, can you take over for a second?
Yeah. So he says, he talks about what's going to be opening in Disneyland in Hong Kong. He says, we'll be introducing new products to celebrate Disney's 100th anniversary, and we're bringing back old favorites to the parks, such as Happily Ever After and Magic Happens. But there's no, you know, Bob Iger recently had a letter that went out, and goes, as we celebrate Disney's 100 in the new year, and this doesn't, this kind of glosses over the Disney 100. So I just found that interesting. In case you're just joining us, the big stories coming out of, again, this is related to an email that Josh sent to the cast that we were able to get a copy of as well. And the big news as far as fans are concerned is at the Disneyland Resort Park. You guys don't need to see this. At the Disneyland Resort, park hopping will start at 11 a.m. on February 4th. That means if you have a park hopping ticket at Disneyland Resort, that makes you go into California Adventure first. Instead of having to wait till 2 to hop over to Disneyland, you can hop over at 11 a.m. So that's early enough to where it's almost like, you just have a ticket to both parks, almost. They said they're significantly increasing the number of days, nearly 60 days worth over the coming year, that they'll offer their lowest price one-day, one-park ticket, which is $104. At Walt Disney World, annual pass holders will be able to enter the park at 2 p.m. without a reservation, except Saturday and Sunday at the Magic Kingdom. So the only exception is the Magic Kingdom on Saturday and Sunday. Other than that, pass holders will be able to enter a park without a reservation. It doesn't say they're guaranteed a reservation. It says they don't need a reservation. So take a little bit of the hassle out of visiting if you're a pass holder and happy to go in the afternoon or evening. And also at Walt Disney World, and this may not affect people as much, but one of the things a lot of fans have been complaining about is just the nickel and diming that Disney seems to be doing, trying to get every last dollar from everyone. And this one may be the biggest indicator that maybe that mindset is switching. And that is, if you're staying at a Disney Resort hotel beginning tonight, they're not even putting this off, beginning tonight, you no longer need to pay for self-parking. So that's the way it's been forever at Walt Disney World. And then not too long ago, they introduced having to pay to self-park there, as most hotels do, but Disney never did. But now starting tonight, no longer the case. If you're staying in a Disney World Resort hotel and you have a car, you're going to have to pay any extra for it. That is not the case at Universal Studios. I know that firsthand. It's not the case at almost any other hotel, but Disney once again. And as I said, hopefully that is a sign that the nickel and diming that many fans have been complaining about is coming. It's never going to come to an end, but at least the corner is turning on that. And you're still muted. Okay, cool. So just doing a quick recap. I was just noticing that there's very little mention of Disney 100 in the email. He attaches it to some of the new stuff coming to Hong Kong, but it's not like I would have expected this email to start as we celebrate 100 years of our wonderful company.
Well, is it just me, or is it feels like the Disney 100 thing was like Bob Chapek's everything, and ever since he's been gone, it's still happening. I mean, we talked about the stuff coming, but merchandise and things, but it's not nearly the driving force. I think it was going to be. I mean, I don't even think that website that they kept saying is going to be launching is even launched yet.
If we wondered if that were the case, I think this email gives a lot of evidence to that being the case.
Which I mean, I'm guessing it has more to do with timing than, Bob coming back and needing to kind of do what he's got to do. Then so things weren't going to be ready to launch a big initiative on January 1st. But yeah, it's I'm kind of missing the sort of energy we were expecting from it. Now I expect Disneyland, once January 27th rolls around or in the days leading up to that, we'll be getting a lot of exciting news. Also, South by Southwest, you talked about it earlier. Josh tomorrow is going to be doing a presentation there. And either Alex or I or both will be, hopefully there if we can get into it. And Josh is so good at those sort of like, here's the future, let's get rah, rah, rah. So, it's going to be, I think, you asked me earlier today about like, are you excited for 2023 at the parks? And I was like, not really. Like, it's a lot of lifts. It's a lot of, sort of things coming back that, great, I mean, as great as this and magic happens back, it's not a new thing. It's great. I mean, I'm glad it's back, but I think
parking is free.
No, but I think it's not even the stuff in this email. I mean, it's great. It's the attitude of the email. It's the fact that they're doing this. There's no, I mean, I've asked, our sources 100 times, like, what's the catch? What's coming tomorrow? And they're like, no, this is just feedback, trying to do better. And great question for our managing editor. The park hopping at 11 a.m. Presumably that applies to Magic Key holders as well, not just Vegas? I believe so. Let me just reread it. That's a good question. I don't want to misstate it. Yeah, I would think so. Park guest with park hopper tickets, which includes Magic Key. So
Magic Key is a park hopper ticket, although it has a capital P, capital H. So probably. Maybe we'll get some 100% clarification on that, but I would think so. I haven't read the parks blog. That may be a more clearer read than this. Check that out. Man, what a freaking day in the world of Disney theme parks. I wish I had a list just to go down of everything that was announced today between California, Florida, Paris, and Adventures by Disney. What a day.
Yeah, it's almost like cruise line. What you doing? Like, what's your news? Where have you been? You slacking?
Well, we talked earlier about, we're hoping that with the Pearl level that they've announced that one of the perks will be the ability to drive the ship. maybe even because when you've been Pearl, let's face it, when you've been Pearl, how many times you've been to Nassau? So maybe they can let us dock it.
You see this comment from Rich?
Now add free parking at Port Canaveral for DCL guests. That ain't gonna happen. Is that even Disney money or is that port money?
Yeah, that ain't Disney money.
Cool. Park blog confirms that Magic Key can hop at 11 a.m. So that's awesome. Let's see. Man, all right. I'm gonna try. You correct me where I'm wrong, but I'm gonna try to just give a rundown of all the stuff that's happened today. Thanks for the beginning February 4th. Guests who enter a Disneyland Resort theme park with a Magic Key pass or a park hopper ticket. Thank you, Parks blog, for answering our questions before we ask them. They begin crossing over between the parks at 11 a.m., 2 hours earlier than they currently can. I'm so excited. I mean, when they introduced this reservation thing, and then they but it stopped being easy to get an annual pass, that was just so depressing for us Disney fans who just got used to the park being our home. This is the most excited I've been since then, between the park hopping at Disneyland and the no reservation after 2 at Disney World. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and the way I visit, I'm going to say none of these things really is going to impact me personally, but I know a lot of people it will. And as I said, it's just the idea that you're listening to the guests. It's just the idea that you getting rid of some of this stupid stuff. I'm not trying to use harsh language, but the parking, the park hopping is there a reason it's 1 instead of 11? No, it's just pick a time.
Stupid is an overstatement. They have people that put a lot of time in figuring things out, but I find it hard to believe that they're not going to make more money charging $20 more a day at a hotel with no one noticing, instead of charging $20 less and then charging $20 for the people that have to park.
No, I mean,
getting the bad feedback. And
we have nothing here that this is tied to any sort of hotel rate increase. But I always felt it came across like someone was trying to do like a project, and this is what oh look, this is what we can do, and there is a decent justification for it, right? Like every hotel charges parking, but just the Disney hotels are unique in their place in the guest experience that it just never made any sense, and you're paying a premium price. And so it felt to me, it's one of those things that in like the premium parking at sports, I get premium parking at the park, that's one thing, but premium parking at the sports complex also felt like a nickel and dime kind of thing. And this
is unfortunately what some would say they've conditioned us to recently. Question is, what's the bad news they're balancing for? And again,
I want to be fair. I talked to our sources, and they're saying there is no flip side. This is not preparing us for some sort of rate increase, or parks are now only going to be open 2 days a week or anything like that. And I take them for the word when they say it like in sort of no uncertain terms. So I that was my first reaction. I was reading this and I was like, okay, where's the thing about like now where an annual pass is $5 million or something? And it's just not in there.
And what is in there, and I keep skipping over this one. I can't remember the last time I visited the park on a 1-day ticket, but lots and lots of people do, especially at Disneyland. And they are increasing by nearly 60 days the number of $104 days, the 1-day, 1 park lowest tier ticket. That's a big price decrease.
Right. I mean, and it's not, I would be used to it. Oh, we're increasing the number of days, and now it's for our cheapest ticket, and it's $110, right? Like, no, they're keeping the price and adding basically on. If you're going on one of those days where they reduce the price, you're saving, a non-insignificant amount of money.
Sure. And we don't have that list, I don't think, yet of which days.
Well, I mean, it evolves. I mean, you'd have to. I mean, if you can, we're past the days of having calendars things. But there's no one saying that the parks are simpler to visit than they were a year ago, even with all these things, or 4 years ago. It feels like a year, but 4 years ago.
Beautiful.
But I will say too, one thing that is also nice, like to me, one of the like Oswald moments is the free at Disneyland, the free attraction photos, because you're at a place where people aren't probably purchasing the photo pass.
Quickly explain what that changes.
So basically, if you go, anything with image capture, or ride photos, at Disneyland,
water feature,
Splash Mountain has it. That's probably not a great long-term example, but Space Mountain has it. I can't remember what has image capture. Screamin' or Incredicoaster. That's now included. So for guests who it's not like they're there for photo pass where they want their picture with their family. That's different. That you need to purchase. But those fun little photos you get at the end of the ride, which don't necessarily have the same value. It's cool that that's just part of the thing
for everyone.
For everyone,
not for whatever. If you're in the park and you go on Space Mountain and they capture your image, you can now get a digital download of that starting February 4th. Back in the day when it was on paper, you'd get in line and you'd pay your $14 or whatever for that.
Right.
Now it's free. That is a great souvenir, a great memory, and a great souvenir that you get when you go on these rides.
And especially Disneyland too, where it's I think Disney World would say you're more likely to visit with I mean, this is massive generalizations, but a family. Whereas Disneyland, you're more likely to visit with a bunch of friends. That's just a cool way to remember something like that.
I'm glad you brought that one up because that one kind of went under my radar as a big change, but that is cool. I would love to. I'm never going to pay for those pictures at this point in my Disney career, but I would love to have them, and now I can have them. I love that. But take my banner and include that in there. That's big. And then they have a Florida weekday ticket already that they've announced that is good. It's only good during the week, and there are some blackouts during spring break. But other than that, you can buy it for I think 2, 3, or 4 days. And if you buy it for 4 days, it works out to about $55 a day, which for visiting a Disney World theme park is crazy. I cannot believe it when I hit the equal sign on my calculator and it came out to that. And I'm like, seriously?
And if anyone from Disney is watching, we think it's a great value. We do not think it's undervalued at all. But
Disneyland Resort has a 3-day SoCal resident. Everything in Disneyland is always SoCal, and in Florida it's always state. So 3 days SoCal resident ticket for $73 per day through late May at the Disneyland Resort. So, I mean, in the words of one of our staffers in Random, Papa Iger out here delivering great Christmas gifts. Great late Christmas gifts.
We were always trying to figure out what Iger's Oswald moment was, like the moment where he's saying, and this is, I know it's under Josh. I have to imagine Bob had at least signed off on it. And he's definitely going to get the credit. That this is good. It's great to have straight up good news, no catch, not even just done. It's not like it was even done in some sort of like flashy way. It was just done as like, hey, here's some changes. Thank you.
It's almost a 5 o'clock dump, I mean,
when you get an email from Disney at what essentially is 4 o'clock Eastern, you're not thinking, oh, here's the good news.
Right. So let me ask this for you though. There was much in the world of rumordom. Just as Chapek was leaving and Iger was coming in, that early this year, Bob Chapek was going to remove the park reservations. That was already going away. And then Iger is going to come in and get the credit for it. And now we get this update, which makes changes, but doesn't remove it. So do you think this was always the plan? Do you think it was modified? Were those rumors just pure rumors? And what's your thought on that?
I think maybe some of the admission, like the park hopping changes, may have been in the works. I heard the thing about reservations, but I only heard that from the internet. I didn't hear that from anyone I know at Disney. Not saying it's not true, but I just never heard it. So it's hard for me to judge that one. But I don't think the free downloads, the parking, these sort of less. So, for example, the after 2 annual pass holder thing in Florida, that I could see totally being in the works because it brings guests in for dinner, like that I get. But those other sort of less, I would say less ticketing and more just sort of guest service pieces that are part of this, I really don't see them making that about face. I could be wrong. I don't know that we'll ever know the truth.
Sure, of
We're
course.
gonna have a different perspective on it, but I
A
will say,
truth.
there's no upside to Disney there's no upside as a fan to really give the credit to Bob Chapek at this point. Just take the good, appreciate the good news. Don't be cynical and just take, give credit to the people who are there until they prove otherwise. I mean, enjoy the positivity. The last thing I think we want to be as Disney fans is, well, I don't want to say we don't want to be, too rose-colored glasses, but we don't want to be taking this as a negative in any way because there is no negative. And if this isn't good enough, I don't think that's sending the right message. I mean, we could, obviously there's other changes we would like to see, but
I think the biggest change many people would like to see is being able to actually buy one of these annual passes again.
Right, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think take the good news, and you can. I would say overall be happy. You can also, you can always have I wish they could do that. That's fine. But don't go around and be like,
no, and there is a lot of good news.
And anything we want to get.
There is a lot of good news today beyond that. This has been, as you said, a great day for Disney theme parks. We can just run down it again, all the cool stuff that's happened today. We got an opening date for Tron Light Cycle Run on April 4th. We've got announcement that Epcot Forever is returning temporarily, and then it will be replaced by a new show. When Epcot Forever returns, there will be a phased removal of the Harmonious barges, which I think for a lot of Disney fans is even a bigger news than everything that we just announced now. Yeah. That Happily Ever After will be returning to the Magic Kingdom.
Never mind. I'll get back to that.
Okay, Happily Ever After returning to the Magic Kingdom, a very popular fireworks show there. At Disneyland Paris, as they finish out their 30th anniversary, they are finishing with quite a bang. They have a new Marvel-themed drone show, which just looks spectacular, coming to Disneyland Paris, as well as the return of Disney Dreams, a very popular castle and fireworks show there. And then Adventure by Disney doing Christmas river cruises. We talked to Heather from Mouse Fan Travel this morning about that. And then the return of Earl of Sandwich, which if you're a Disneyland guy, you need Earl of Sandwich to return. That was announced yesterday, but it's going to have a temporary location in the old La Brea Bakery location starting in February. So just a huge day for Disney theme park fans, plus everything we just announced here, and then the recent discounts for SoCal and Florida residents, and things are so looking up.
So two things I want to bring up. One is if you look at the last 24 hours too, I mean, even beyond theme parks, you got a Quantumania trailer that seems to be getting good reviews. The worst thing that happened to Disney, it was the college football championship game in the last 24 hours. But yeah. Also, we talked about it earlier, but I want to make sure, since we're talking about it again, they also deserve credit for
I think I'm live. I don't know what happened here.
I figured someone should keep the stream going. I was watching, and I'm like, oh,
did we both disappear? Can you hear me now, Kyle?
Yeah. Well, Doobie, you were on for a while, and then it went to Benji.
All right. So that must have been our overall internet connection, not just mine for a change. Ben and I are both on the same internet connection. You can probably tell by our blinds. So you were saying something, and I don't know how much of it was. Go ahead and say
I
anything.
was just gonna say, I think they deserve credit for the removal of the barges. I think that to admit you're wrong is, or and not like they're going like we're finally getting rid of those barges, but it even even they even made it. Well, kudos to at least Josh's communications team, if not Josh. Making a joke about Spider-Man crashing into a wall. It's just giving a level of humility that Disney hasn't traditionally done because that wasn't the culture then. But now people want a little bit more. There's too much information out there where you can't really pull the wool over people's eyes like that. I mean, that's the thing. Like Southwest, with their meltdown, it was just like they never really took. They were always blaming the weather, even though they were the only airline to have this issue, and they never just really straight up apologized and said my bad in any real way until I guess towards the end. And I think it takes an amount of humility that we don't necessarily see at the high executive level. And so to me, also getting rid of Harmonious's infrastructure is a statement that I think is a good one.
I wonder, I may be trying to read too much positivity right now, but Disney's social media has been on fire lately, so I'm gonna lump that in with how great things are going at the parks right now. Their park social media to me has been great, culminating in that epic Tron Light Cycle Run tease video yesterday with the scoreboard. So things are popping. I don't think things have popped this well since the great days of Paul Pressler. What do you think?
The great days of Paul Pressler.
No, it's going well. Again, if you joined us late, the big reason we came on right now is Disney just released some news. They've promised that they said that this is the news. There's no other shoe to drop. Park hopping starts at 11 o'clock for all park hopping ticket holders at 11 a.m. At Disneyland Resort starting on February 4th. There will be about 60 additional Tier 0, $104 one-day, one-park ticket days instead of, which is just frankly a price lowering on 60 days. That's the cheapest price, $104. That's a good price to get into Disneyland. I did not know if you asked me what's the cheapest you can get into Disneyland for one day, one park ticket, I think I would have said more than that. And certainly considering how many days now we're going to apply to that. PhotoPass, digital downloads for attraction for the onboard photos is now included for everyone. So if you go to the park, you're at Space Mountain, you can now get a digital download of your photo. You don't have to pay a dime, and it doesn't matter what type of ticket you have. Over at Disney World, you'll be able to enter parks after 2 p.m. without a reservation. That applies to Studios, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom every single day, and it applies to Magic Kingdom Monday through Friday. There will be complimentary self-parking if you're a Disneyland Resort guest, no more having to pay a parking fee, and that starts tonight. So if you checked in yesterday and you're expecting to pay for that parking tonight, make sure you don't. Check that receipt. Don't let that happen.
I want to see all the people that were staying, we're here for 3 days and now they're departing tomorrow, and they're like, I've stayed 4 nights, but I got 3 nights of parking. I mean, I'll take the free parking, but I hope they're, reasonable. I have a question. What do you think the chances are that all this news is tied to the 20th anniversary of You Wish, the Disney Channel original movie that Disney Plus just did a tweet about? And you mentioned actually earlier today. Do you think that they were like, what should we do to celebrate the 20th anniversary of You Wish? I know we'll do all the things I know past owners have been asking for.
How cool would it have been if they did a little social with this and tied it into that anniversary? Obviously not the reason, but just to show we are so hip as Disney fans that we're going to celebrate the anniversary of this obscure DCOM that only Alex has heard of. That would have been so fun. Disney Social, check out LPTV Disney News Update every morning so you can find out this day in history and kind of plan your day. You like the Happily Ever After TikTok was very, very cute. I don't have it prepared, but it was cute. I do have it, right? Kyle, if you're around, you can send that to me. Maybe I'll show that. It's not that big a deal, but additional visuals never hurt.
Just check in to see if there's any more news to drop. I think that's enough for today.
Checking the making of, yes, thank you, Rich Oskey. The Making of the Disney Wish, the fun National Geographic show. I watched it was it Christmas Eve, I think it came out. I watched it in its entirety because I'm a cruise cruise geek, and it was a fun video. It was much more real and interesting than I expected. It's going to be coming on Disney Plus.
And if you actually, I'm going to try and I don't want to butcher the names here. So
okay,
if you subscribe to the Overheard at National Geographic podcast, their weekly podcast, today's episode is an interview with Laura Cabo, who was the Imagineer that led the Disney Wish project. So she talks a lot about the decisions that have been made and things. So it's just about a 20-minute podcast that you can listen to. You can also read the interview. They post a text version on nationalgeographic.com as well. So if you want a little bit more context for the special that's coming to Disney Plus, but it's basically the host is the documentary filmmaker who did that special, and then interviewing Laura Cabo.
The Disney Plus in March. I don't think March 3rd. March 3rd. Yeah, it was on Christmas Eve that I saw it. My favorite part of that, I haven't been on the Wish, though I have no actual opinion of the Wish itself, but my favorite part of that, the thrust, the plot of that whole making of is, will they get the ship done on time? And they actually didn't get the ship done.
Do they acknowledge that?
No, they don't. They don't. But it's really good. Anything else? I really want to show. I teased it. I want to show that TikTok. I think Kyle sent it to me, so I'm gonna try to find out. Anything else you want to make sure you mentioned, Ben?
I know I'm repeating myself, but this definitely, if you're not going to Austin, definitely follow us at South by Southwest, because I have a feeling if this is just the start of it, right? There's a bold new era for Disney parks. Kind of, I think people wanted to, not that they did any major announcements today, but that sort of what's the vision for Disney parks that people were kind of hoping was going to happen at Expo and just kind of didn't. I think that's starting today, and as we see what the future is, definitely keep following us as we cover all. I mean, we got Disney 100 coming up, South by Southwest. Presume there's something going on with Tron. Tomorrow we got Thursday we got Ducks Day at California Adventure. We got the Festival of the Arts. Next week, Jeremiah is going to be a Pixar Day at Sea cruise. It's just a lot.
I do have that Happily Ever After TikTok, so let's check that out. It's we're a visual medium. Hopefully you guys can hear this too if I unmute it.
Okay, make sure green screen shows image of Happily Ever After. Okay, I got that. Warning, do not mention that the return date of Happily Ever After is April 3rd. Okay. Oh.
It shows they're having fun. I mean, ultimately, this is a theme park, and they're having fun.
You know what these things are contrast to? I think we were all disappointed with the sort of Christmas Day parade broadcast, because that was fun. And that's the kind of stuff they would totally do back in the day. It was just sort of silly and fun. And so instead of doing it on ABC, they do it on TikTok. Probably get more views that way.
And so this is their latest on TikTok. I am verifying this over and over that this is Disney's official TikTok, because I have not seen this yet, but if it's on Disney, it's safe. Here we go.
Four.
They're having fun. Universal got to watch out. Their social department is world renowned on the internet, but Disney.
Yeah, but there's an edge to them that Disney's hopefully not going to have.
No, that's okay. But there's a fun here that so far Universal hasn't had. Although the churro thing was pretty fun. All right, just checking the Twitter one more time, making sure.
Mike wants us to plug his interview.
Go for it. Do a plug.
Mike just interviewed the Hasbro Star Wars creative team, where he pitched, I guess, a Vi Murati figure that he wants credit for giving them the idea. I think the best way to ensure something doesn't happen is say that it was your idea, and because then they can't take it because it's an idea submission. So take the credit after it happens. Otherwise, they're going to be like, oh no, he's going to want royalties.
What I keep forgetting to mention is at Disney World, if you get Genie Plus, you'll get digital downloads of all your PhotoPass. So, which is a nice perk because if you know you can get the photo download and you start PhotoPassing all over the place.
It's of attraction photos, right?
For Disney World, beginning in the next few months, guests purchasing Disney Plus service will also receive. Yes, I'm sorry. You're right. Never mind. So at Disneyland, it's everybody. At Disney World, it's only Genie Plus.
Correct.
It seems like an interesting distinction.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's there's a lot of that though, right? Why is park hopping different? I mean, you don't want to treat Disneyland like it's Disneyland. You don't want to treat Disneyland like it's Disneyland. But sometimes, and I'm sure there's a reason. They didn't just make this up. But there's, it is an interesting thought exercise as to why is it this particular item different at each site.
Hey, coming up in less than 2 hours, we have both Rebecca Burbank and Rebecca Mosley doing Disney. Oh my goodness, it's the only one that doesn't have. Never mind. Doing Barely Necessities, which I always want to start with the word Disney for some reason. Barely Necessities, the Disney merchandise show. Kyle, expect way better out of you. The Disney merchandise show.
It's funny though.
And they're going to be talking about the week in Disney merchandise, which is always fun. I believe Becca is going to be doing an unboxing of her some new perfume, which I'm. And we can't smell it. We don't have smell-o-vision, so we're going to see it. And then, so check that out in just about 2 hours, 4 p.m. Pacific, Barely Necessities. And then at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, we have Disney Trivia Live with myself and my son. So, and whenever news breaks, we will go live for it. So stay tuned. Laughing Place YouTube channel. Smash that like button. Please check out Laughing Place TV, laughingplace.com/TV, where we broadcast Disney news and fun 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year until next year when we'll up it to 366. And we break in with any live programming that we currently have, that we have going on the YouTube channel. Next year's a leap year, right? 24? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know, but I think we find it like we just took New Year's off. Like,
so
it's
that's
like some days we broadcast 25 hours a day. Some days we broadcast 23.
Some days 23. So,
yeah.
Oh, wait. Mike doesn't like fun. We know Mike.
We know Mike.
Bye, everybody.